Alec, who is your pick for for defensive rookie of the year?
Oh, well, you already know who I'm going to go with. It's Micah Parsons, the linebacker, if you want to call him that, for the Dallas Cowboys. Micah Parsons has lined up all over the field. And in the NFL, versatility is the most important thing. And when DeMarcus Lawrence went down, he had his name called. He played defensive end, had a couple sacks. He did that for 3 weeks. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if Micah Parsons plays at linebacker again. Well, I think you have to change that offensive scheme. What I would say is try to use a little bit of what's called counter-attacking soccer. So the big strength that UNT has right now is their defense. And if you can find a way to get the ball from either Sarah Fuller or your defenders up the pitch really quickly, that's going to help you create some more open shot opportunities that you just haven't really had this season. Well, you have to look at it this way. When you have a winning culture like UNT soccer has, you're expecting that team every single year to be great. And the fact of the matter is you can't have that expectation. If you look at their schedule, they had 3 really tough games against Texas A&M, Baylor, and OU. They played really well. They tied 2 of those games, lost 2-0 to Baylor. The offense has looked abysmal this year. I mean, the offense has been absolutely awful. But to you UNT soccer fans, in the words of Aaron Rodgers, RELAX. Relax. Trust John Hedlund. He's 365, 136, and 35. That's a 71.4 winning percentage. So just trust Hedlund as we move into the rest of conference play and into the tournament. Well, I think this rookie class is a little bit different than some of them in the past few years because the quarterbacks have been absolutely awful. You look at Trevor Lawrence, the first overall pick, he hasn't been playing well. Zach Wilson, he hasn't played well. Trey Lance, you go down the list. None of these quarterbacks have been playing well. Overall, it's been a little bit of a disappointment, I think. This is such a competition of popularity, and in everybody's eyes, it's probably going to be Jamar Chase. Right. My guy's Rashawn Slater. Yes. Rashawn Slater is absolutely insane. I think offensive linemen need their own award. Rashawn Slater, he gave up 1 sack this year to Myles Garrett, which, I mean,
that's an understandable sack.
It's Myles Garrett. Before that, his last sack was 2018, Week 11 against the Wisconsin Badgers. Rashawn Slater's the guy. Overall, I'm going to be a homer. I don't care. It's Micah Parsons. This is the guy, the Cowboys defense last year was awful, absolutely atrocious. This is the guy that has come in and revitalized this defense, Micah Parsons.
Alec, what do these realignment talks mean for college football in general?
Well, I think it means something really big for the college football playoff because you have to make a change. You can't do just 4 teams now. If you look at Oklahoma, they've been in the playoffs 4 times. Oklahoma and the SEC will never make the playoffs. So I think you have to expand it to probably 8, potentially 16 teams. I think another thing that's big for college football is you're getting that renewed rivalry of Texas A&M and Texas. So I think it's a good thing for the fans, but I think in the long run, it's bad for the smaller schools. Now, one thing I think we're overlooking with this whole realignment is the fact of distance. So right now, you have to travel up to Old Dominion, which is about 1,400 miles. But the furthest interdivisional that you have to travel will be UAB, which is 673 miles. And then in the conference in general, the furthest is going to be Temple at just over 1,500 miles.
And with the possible new conferences, Alec, you already mentioned it, teams are not going to be traveling as much around the country. No. So how is that going to affect recruiting?
I think it's going to play a big effect in recruiting just because you're going to try to focus on getting people that are in your area. The North Texas football team and really the school in general has struggled in the DFW because of schools like TCU and SMU also being here. So I think what you're going to have to do is you're traveling to UAB, you're traveling just to these closer regions, you're going to have to focus in on your area.
Which sport does this all affect the most?
Football, I would say.
I have to agree. I think it's going to be football just because of, if I mentioned this earlier, the college football playoffs. The whole realignment shift in general is going to play a big part here because you're going to have to expand. And it's going to be harder for a group of 5 school to make it to the playoffs. We've talked about a couple years ago, UCF, their national championship run, when they went undefeated. We have Cincinnati, a really good football team this year that is probably going to make the playoffs. But with the shift, I don't know if there's going to be a group of 5 school that can make it to the playoffs anymore. I don't know if you guys know this. He's one of 15 head coaches in the entire country where the school provides him a private jet. A private jet. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, he uses it for recruiting. No, he doesn't. Seth Luttrell uses this for vacations, personal leisure, whatever. North Texas, if you're listening to me right now, use my tuition money elsewhere. If you're going to pay a coach, why don't we pay Grant McCaslin, who has brought 2 titles in the last 2 years?
So, I mean, do you think he's going to make it through the year? Not if you want to, not do you want to, but do you think he's going to make it?
Unfortunately, he will, because the school cannot afford to fire him because he has a $1.7 million contract with, I believe, a $1.2 million buyout. We're not going anywhere this year. We're not going to a bowl game. We're not winning the conference. So those 2 things are already out.
Right, but that's why we should put him in, is because we're not going anywhere.
But we're going
We might
to
as well
waste
see
a
what we
year.
have. Well, I mean, I don't see it as wasting as much as I see it as we're seeing what he has to offer for years
I
to
understand
come.
where you're coming from, but we have a guy that we've seen some good stuff from that we haven't seen, and that's Cason Martin. Cason Martin, when he came in the Appalachian State game last year in that bowl game, 1 pass, 16 yards, touchdown. His freshman year against Utah State in the New Mexico Bowl, 7 for 12, 110 yards, and a touchdown. He led his team to the 5A championship his senior year of high school. He had 3,000 yards, 39 touchdowns, and 4 picks that year. Give me a little bit of Cason Martin. I agree. I think what we've done this year is, yeah, we're not going anywhere, but we've put a building block there.
Right.
And I'm a big believer in culture, and I think the culture that we had here at North Texas last year just wasn't good. And I think bringing in Phil Bennett was a big change. I think, hey, North Texas, if you're listening to me, I think that's a guy that could be the next head coach. I really like what he's doing here. He's made that jump. It was 42.8 points per game they gave up last year. This year, 28.3. So give me Phil Bennett.
Alec, quickly.
Well, I mean, yeah, I got to go Cincinnati and Notre Dame, and a big reason is because of Desmond Ridder. But another big reason, if we look at it this year, Clemson and UNC are not going to be making the playoffs. A&M and Florida, probably not. This is the year for a group of 5 school to make the playoffs, and if Cincinnati wins this game, I believe they're going to put that bid in there.